I want to talk about first. Episode 1 is titled Master and Apprentice, and it involves 4 people, 2 masters and 2 apprentices or apprentices. Okay, so
Apprentices.
all right, so let's talk about them. Let's start with the 2 new characters. We got Baylan and Shin. Baylan's skull is, from what we know, what we were told from these episodes, is a former Jedi who fled during Order 66. Now, I did the timeline, Keith, and I know we like timelines, and maybe I'm off of my timeline, but so I have at his present age to be 58 years old. All right.
Sounds accurate.
Order 66 happened about 28 years ago. So that would have made him 30 years old during Order 66, which is pretty old. I mean, I expect he's a full-fledged Jedi Knight by that time, and he would have had
a knight or a master.
Sure, and he would have had an apprentice or more than one at the time. Not sure about that, but okay. So at 30 years old,
Yeah. So here's the thing: do you think maybe he was training Shin before Order 66?
well,
because he has to be at least 20 years her senior from the looks of it.
Well, let me get to that because I actually kind of tracked her age as well. So let's talk about Shin Hati. So she is about 25 years old, which would mean that she was born after Order 66, right? Or, it could be around the time she was a baby. She could be about the same age as Luke and Leia, because, Leia was born the same year as as Order 66. But it's possible that she was not even born. She might be a couple of years younger than Luke and Leia. All right. So I'm wondering, like, how did these 2 find each other? We don't know. Okay. All right.
19
Yeah.
+4.
You're doing the math. Okay. All right.
So you mean this takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi?
Well, okay. So I'm going through, I'm looking at the Star Wars timeline book, that book that we got a few months back, which is I highly recommend that book. It's the timelines.
Finally, I don't have to keep theorizing.
Yeah, so it places this present day Ahsoka around the same time as the Mandalorian, right? So I would say that this is taking place during, the Book of Boba Fett. When Fett took over.
When does Boba Fett take place?
Well, around the same time. So about 9 years after.
What?
The Battle of Yavin.
Time is the same time.
9 years after the Battle of Yavin.
Okay, so 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
About that, 4 or 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Yes.
5 years after the Battle of Endor. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we good there? All right. So
I said that.
Okay. My point is, there's a gap in age. So I'm wondering, how did they meet each other? We don't know. So let me talk more about Shin.
Through Force Twitter. They met through Force Twitter, or should I say Force X? I refuse to acknowledge Twitter as X.
I got you. Okay. All right.
That was the most smooth-brained move in the history.
We're talking about Ahsoka. All right.
Of social media.
So now I want to talk about Shin and her force powers and her skills as a Padawan.
They seem underdeveloped to me.
I agree with you.
She's using some of the more basic of the abilities.
Yeah.
Baylan doesn't exactly display his force sensitivities as much either, but he does still display them more than Shin does. So my thinking is that I came up with this theory at like 8 p.m. at dinner with the family. So I'm like, okay, so maybe Baylan is trying to keep her in the dark. Because there's this one line where Shin's like, what happens if we find Thrawn? And Baylan says, power such as you've never dreamed. Thank you, Alex, 9ABY. That's what I thought. So that would be 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. So you were correct, and I was correct. All right, okay. Thank you.
All right, let's think.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So maybe what Baylan's plan is to resurrect Grand Admiral Thrawn, gain his trust for a bit, and then take him out. And gain all that power for himself.
Okay.
Because, Grand Admiral Thrawn versus, whatever Baylan and Shin call themselves now. Baylan and Shin would easily beat Grand Admiral Thrawn. Even Baylan himself could beat Grand Admiral Thrawn. So, maybe that's his plan. To get Grand Admiral Thrawn to trust him and then take him out of the picture So that way he can have all of Thrawn's power and command an army such as you've never dreamed.
Right. Now you went ahead in my notes, but you're right. So there was a conversation with
Episode
Shin
2.
and Baylan, right? Who said, so Shin asked the question, what happens when we find Thrawn? And Baylan says, a new beginning, war, power, such as you never dreamed, right? So you could be right. Maybe he is looking for power. Maybe he's looking to overthrow Thrawn at some point. And he could, because he is very powerful in the Force. Baylan is. So we don't know. I mean, it's absolutely possible that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm not sure about Baylan. I mean, we know he's a dark Jedi, although he says he's not a Jedi at all.
We'll call him Dark Jedi.
Yeah, but
can we just call him Sith for simplicity's sake?
Yeah, but they're not. We can't call them Sith.
Yeah, we can't call them Dark Jedi either because they said they're not Jedi. So.
Well, I'm going to call them Dark Jedi.
I'm going to call them Sith.
Okay,
it's so much easier to just call them Sith.
Okay, all right, that's fine. But anyway, we don't really know what side he is on, but we'll find out when he meets Thrawn for the first time, or if he's ever met Thrawn before. I don't know, but we'll find out. All right, so I want to get back to talking about Shin. So you're right. I didn't think she's a fully developed Padawan. As far as her skills. We do know that she does have the power to do a force pull, right? Because we saw that
force pulls and force pushes are some of the more basic of the abilities.
I would say so.
Even if you haven't been mentored per se, you would know how to do force pulls and force pushes.
Right.
I believe younglings are taught that.
Right. So, in my opinion, the basic force skills, like you said, would be a force push or a force pull. Something that's a little more advanced would be like a force choke, a mind trick, and then moving objects, right? Which I don't think she knows how to do. But we're going to talk a little more about Shin later, all right? So let's talk about the other Master Apprentice.
I think moving objects is actually easier than mind tricks.
You think so?
If you can force push and pull, you're already moving objects if you think about it.
Well, that's a very good point.
Why,
Yeah, I guess it depends on the weight of the object.
I have a headache.
And then one other thing that we saw Baylan do that we don't know if Shin has the power to do, when they freed Morgan Elsbeth, right?
And broke her handcuffs just like that.
Right, just like what the Emperor did, right? In Return of the Jedi, when he broke the handcuffs from Luke, off of Luke's wrists. Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. So that to me is a part of using your mind to move objects, to break objects, but I don't think she's there yet. So, but again, we'll talk more about Shin later. All right, so let's talk about the other Master and Apprentice. Now, this is very surprising. And maybe let's talk about this. Let's talk through this. Why did Ahsoka choose Sabine to be her apprentice? Why Sabine? Because as far as we know, Sabine does not have force powers.
Yes. By the way, I feel that there's a line that gives us hints. So there's this one line where Ahsoka and Sabine are talking, and Sabine's like, you never made things easy for me, Master. And Ahsoka says, well, you should have made a great Jedi. And Sabine's like, I should have. And then Ahsoka says, yes, you really should have. And then she walked away. So I'm thinking, if she's training Sabine to be a Jedi, but she doesn't have force powers, it's simply not possible. I always assumed that maybe Ahsoka was teaching her how to properly use a lightsaber, but if it's force training, that would explain it. But then again, it makes no sense how powerful figures like Kanan or S3 Ezra couldn't figure out that she was force sensitive or even hinted at it somehow. And then when we were introduced to others like Vader and Ahsoka, who are more seasoned in the Force and much more powerful with it, you'd think they'd be able to send somebody right next to them being Force sensitive, but no. So if Sabine is Force sensitive, kind of changes up Star Wars a lot.
Well, okay. Well,
because you wouldn't train someone to be a Jedi if they're not Force sensitive. That's like me training somebody for martial arts, but they're 96.
96 years old?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's the joke. If you're 96, you don't really want to be doing martial arts. You'll throw out your back.
Sure. No, understood. All right. So
yeah.
So I picked up on a couple of things. I
Like,
just want
that's like telling Charles Xavier to run sprints.
now that's cruel. Okay, all right. Let me run through this a little bit. So Huang, who is he
Yeah, Hu
has
Yang is like a
trained.
Jedi caretaker.
Yeah,
So
he's a
basically,
professor.
he actually taught younglings how to craft their
That's
lightsabers,
correct.
which is how we got the name Baylan Skull. He ran a search of anyone who had the lightsaber builds that were seen in a holographic image of Baylan and Shin.
Right. So one thing that Huang said to Sabine, which I thought was very cruel, but it's actually the truth. He's been helping
He's been here
Jedi
for over thousands of
Padawans craft,
years.
yeah, for thousands of years, like you said. And he said to Sabine that her aptitude would fall short of all of them, which is, you know, in, unbelievably cruel, but it's actually true. So and I actually was doing a little research and I wanted to talk about this. There was a comic book series that came out from Marvel Comics called The Rise of Kylo Ren, right? And there is a scene where Luke is training his team of, Padawans, right? Uh, Young Jedi, future Jedi Knights. There was one of his students who said to Luke, she came up to Luke, she was concerned about her force sensibilities and her first power. She thought Ben was very, very strong in the force.
Of course he is.
So
the question, he torched the Jedi Temple.
So the question that she asked Luke was, why is Ben so much stronger? I work just as hard as he does. And Luke's response was, Ben isn't stronger. That's not how it works. The force can be a trickle, a stream, a river, a flood for anyone who can sense it. Think of yourself as a door. The wider you open, the more easily the force flows through you. Some people just start out with a door a bit more open, but any door can open wide.
Okay, you know what? That does not explain why people with wide open doors, like Ahsoka and Vader, Kanan has like a half open door.
Well, no.
And then Ezra is training in how to open that door.
No, I think you're missing a point here. See, this quote is no. This quote is actually for Sabine. So I'm wondering, perhaps Sabine does have a trickle, using Luke's words. By the way, this is a Marvel comic written by Charles Soule, so I want to credit the writer. Could it be that Sabine has a trickle or a little bit of the Force, and she's not aware that she has it, or she's not aware of her abilities in the Force? Do you think? No.
It is 30 years after Rebels.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
So Ezra was 14, right?
Okay.
At the beginning of Rebels. So
where are we going?
18 by the end, which means that he is 48. Should have been easy math for me.
Okay. Are we talking about the same subject?
Yes, we're talking about the same subject.
Okay, so go ahead.
I mean, Sabine is 50.
She's not 50. All right. Okay.
How's that possible?
All right. Well, anyway, so So my point is, I think Sabine.
Gotcha.
It maybe it's possible she may have a little bit of the Force. I don't know. It's still very odd to me that Ahsoka, who is one of the more powerful Jedi out there, would want to train someone to learn how to become a Jedi if they don't have Force sensibilities. What I don't want to happen is, and this might be a mean thing to say, because with Spider-Man, when we're talking about Spider-Man and the message of Miles Morales being Spider-Man and Peter Parker being Spider-Man, is that anybody can be Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Okay. I don't want everybody to be a Jedi. So in other words, yes.
Here's the thing. I'll give you a comparable Marvel example.
Okay.
It's like if we took Captain America and all of a sudden we said he developed spider senses when he was under the ice and now he's Spider-Man. Like, it'd be coming out of nowhere, especially because he never showed any signs of having spider senses. It's the same thing with Sabine. It makes no sense for us to find out, 10 years after Rebels, yeah, she's Force sensitive.
Yeah, I don't want it to be that, okay, because, I want to be a Jedi, but I don't have the Force the Force, can I still be a Jedi? I don't.
No.
The answer should be no. I don't want that. I want
Once
because
again,
that
it's like
kind of
telling Charles
cheapens.
Xavier to run wind sprints. It's just
Okay,
not going to happen.
yeah, I just don't want Jedi Knight to be cheapened. All right, to just anybody becoming a Jedi. You have to be a special person
By those
with special abilities to be a Jedi, and I'm fine with that. And that's the way it should be.
So by those standards, Han Solo could have been a Jedi.
Yeah, how about that? Can you imagine Han being a Jedi or Han wanting to learn how to use a lightsaber?
No,
it just doesn't.
I got another example for you. Chewbacca. Imagine Chewbacca as a Jedi. Do you really want this gate to open right now?
Yeah, right.
Considering we have people who can use the Force and are still underqualified. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with having somebody who's not Force sensitive be training to be a Jedi. Maybe it was a choice of words. Maybe she actually is Force sensitive. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, so
I don't know.
So getting into further, so obviously Ahsoka and Sabine, they're not getting along. Something happened. There's a backstory to all of this.
Let's hope they don't secret invasion us and just say you've changed, and then we never find out how and why.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen.
Star Wars knows how
but
to tell
it does
a
explain
story with their shows.
Well, it explains. I have 2 more points I want to talk about as far as Ahsoka, Master and Apprentice. Now, Jason Syndulla. You remember that name? We know who Jason Syndulla is.
Yeah, we saw him at the end.
Right.
It was around the Battle of Endor, which means by this time he's probably about my age, if not a little bit older.
Could be a little bit older. Yeah, definitely a teenager.
We saw Hera and Rex fighting side by side in the Battle of Endor in the end credits of the final episode of season 4. So, here's the thing. Where's Jason Syndulla? I don't know if this is just something that Lego does, but I saw this kid, and he's short. He's got the mid-legs, which is usually how Lego signals a child. And for some reason, he's always with Hera, and Chopper. In the promotional art, the banner on Reddit and the lineup for the Lego minifigures coming in Ahsoka. The only difference is that this kid has brown hair. But we haven't seen anything reminiscent of Jason Syndulla in these 2 episodes. So I don't know where Hera's son went, because that's alarming that he's not here.
Well, not yet. I do think we'll still see him, but my question is, why didn't Ahsoka entertain the idea of training Jason to be a Jedi?
Especially because his father was Force
Exactly,
sensitive.
Right. He has Force sensibility. So was that ever an option for Ahsoka? Did she say to Hera, I want to train your son to be a Jedi? I didn't get the complete training that I needed. I walked away from the order, but I want to give back and train your son because he's going to need to know how to use the Force, how to protect himself, defend himself. I want to train your son, Hera, to be a Jedi.
By the way, Alex,
did that happen?
It was a joke. I was trying to get Dad to fall for it, but he didn't.
Okay, are we doing Q&A?
No.
Okay, all right.
Just responding to a comment.
No. Okay, so we have the comics coming up. So should we read the comments? Okay.
No, Dad, we're doing the notes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Things are a little bit different here. All right. So, okay. So Jason Syndulla is not an option. I don't know why. And my other point is, no, I lost my train of thought. All right. So the Grogu. Okay. Is the reason why Ahsoka decided not to train Grogu is because she felt that because maybe she felt
she wasn't a good master.
That's correct.
Because she failed Sabine, she didn't want to fail again.
Exactly.
I just thought it was a baseless claim so that Ahsoka wouldn't end up taking Grogu, and then that would be her segue into literally every show.
Right.
I thought that was just because they were saving Ahsoka for her own show instead of her just being a cameo appearance all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which they did, and they did masterfully. With Ahsoka only appearing twice, believe it or not, before we actually got to see her in the show.
Yeah, right.
So now I get it, actually. It makes sense given the fact that she trained Sabine. and at the time,
Things didn't
Sabine
go
had
well.
probably left already.
Yeah. Okay.
Now here's something. Here's a scenario for you. Um, you know, Jason Sindula is probably force sensitive,
More than
and more
likely.
importantly, he's at an age where he would have been just a little bit older than younglings should be when they're inducted into the Jedi Order. Like Ahsoka would be familiar with that because Anakin was, and she almost was. So, I don't know honestly. Like,
Okay.
I don't know why she didn't just train Jason Sindula because he has Force genes in him. Like, so apparently, the way the Force works is that every time you have another family member, like when Anakin and Padme and Luke and Leia, the midichlorians from Anakin got passed into Luke and Leia, and then from Leia they went to Ben. So
Okay. All right.
which makes sense because that's probably why, Ben's force sensitive and Luke and Leia are force sensitive and Anakin's force sensitive. So honestly, I don't think it matters if one parent doesn't have midi chloridians high enough to yield force sensitivities.
So
So
Alex says, I think Star Wars Explained said that there is potential for Sabine to open herself to a new force, to the force now that Kanan says something about how everyone can sense the force.
yeah,
Yeah,
like everyone can sense the force, so to speak. I think that was metaphorical, honestly. I don't think Kanan meant literally like everybody's force sensitive. You just gotta figure it out. Like, there's people like Maz Kanata, like she's force sensitive, but she's not a Jedi. She doesn't have a lightsaber that she actively uses. She doesn't use force powers, but she can sense the force.
gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, it's very interesting. We'll continue to talk about that subject. Funatics blog, first time watching. Thank you so much. And I'm all in. You both know what you're talking about. Great observation on Jason. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
fanatics.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder if it's something that they're going to talk about, discuss, touch on, at least because I'm
I
sure.
haven't even heard any casting announcements for whoever's supposed to play Jason Sindula.
Well, no, I don't think it matters. It's probably just a young actor. I don't think it's anybody famous,
Cameo appearance, probably.
but it's something that most fans would wonder. Okay, well, you have a force sensitive child right here. Why not train this child? Why Sabine? Okay, so
Exactly.
all right,
And
so
Sabine never
yeah.
showed any visible and noticeable force tendencies up to this point.
Now maybe we
So
missed
I
it.
don't get where the decision to trade her was based.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So I want to talk about, if we are okay to move on, I want to talk about the fight between Shin and Sabine. All right. Now this is
Yeah,
a very
so
you want to
let
start?
me tell you something funny.
Okay.
I think I'll cover this.
Yeah, sure.
So I was texting a friend. I hope he's watching this stream. If you are, hey Jared.
Okay.
And I told him after the show premiered, like, they nerfed lightsabers and it was inconsistent even in their own show. Because there's this one part, we saw this in the trailer. Baylan's like, you got one thing right. We are not Jedi. And then that captain just,
got it right through the heart. Well, through the chest, upper chest, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll tie that thread back up later, as Shin was saying. That's a thread that I'm gonna be spinning, and I'll tie it up later on.
Okay. Well, yeah, I wanted to get to that, but the reason why I wanted to start talking about the fight was see how evenly matched they are, or are they evenly matched? So let's go.
I don't know.
So we're going. So we already talked about Shin's abilities, where we think maybe she is not where she needs to be as someone who's 25 years old. If you're training as a Padawan, usually Padawans train at a very young age, like 2-3 years old, that you would be a little more advanced in your force powers.
But here's something.
Yes.
Sabine literally has no force powers at all that we know of.
Correct.
And she didn't use any during the fight.
No, she sure didn't.
So she sure did not use any force powers.
Let's get into that. Go ahead.
So let me tell you about the fight.
Yes.
So Sabine, we haven't even gotten to the main plot yet. Basically, Ahsoka ends up finding this map
Yep.
on an old base on Arcana, which is a Night Sister stronghold.
Yep.
And then some droids that were hired by, you guessed it, Shin, end up stealing that map after Sabine unlocks it, and they destroyed her research. So she
Yes.
can't remake it, and she didn't even know what planet it was on.
Right.
So now the map is in the hands of the enemy, and Sabine grabs Ezra's...
And this map, again, is supposed to give us a location of where Thrawn is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Sabine grabs Ezra's lightsaber, and she's ready to fight Shin, or so she believed.
Yeah.
So this fight begins, and Sabine, she's already like on that level with Shin at the beginning of the fight. They seem to be trading blows pretty evenly. You know, Shin might have a bit of an edge because she's been much more trained in the Force. And we also see that they face off later in the show, thanks to the trailer. But Shin might be a little more trained because Sabine, you know, really hasn't been as far as using Force abilities because she doesn't use them. So her and Shin are fighting, but after a while, you know, Sabine starts to tire out or something. I don't know what happened, but there was just this sudden lack of defense and offense.
I'll tell you what happened. Go ahead.
And then Shin, she goes in like, and I'm like,
yeah.
Now wait a minute. See, here's the only issue. First off, the premiere was a two-parter, so the way they ended it was with that scene, and I'm like, no, come on, there's a two-parter, and, you know, I feel like this thread's gonna be spun up after this, like, you know, I don't think that they're gonna have to make us wait for a week. We'll probably have to wait 30 seconds so we can switch on to the Disney Plus menu and click the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, secondly, there were other scenes of Sabine that we hadn't seen yet, like her cutting her hair and her fighting Shin later on in the trailer and piloting a ship with Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the thing is, we already know that they're not going to get rid of her in the first episode. Correct. Also, you know, that doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
We get all this sudden exposition about how Ahsoka was training Sabine and it didn't go well, and apparently Sabine is force sensitive, and now there's beef between Ahsoka and Sabine, and then all of a sudden Sabine's out of the picture. That's not how Star Wars works. They wouldn't do that.
Okay, well, I mean, we do know that there was some history between the two of them. We don't know exactly what happened. I don't think, well, exposition, yes. I think they just need to set the groundwork as to
set a
what
tone
happened
for
between
the
two of them. Because this just came out of the blue with Sabine being trained by Ahsoka. So let me finish up.
There was that one shot where Ahsoka went up to Sabine and she was admiring that mural she made of the Rebels crew. And Ahsoka's like, you ready? And Sabine's like, let's go. Let's go find Ezra.
Okay. All right.
5 years later.
Okay.
You know, that's weird. That is the exact time jump of Endgame. The first part took place in 2018 and in like the spring, and then they came back in the fall of 2023. Boom!
Okay. All right, going back to the match between
Disney
Shin
owns Marvel and
Sabine.
Star Wars.
A couple of things I noticed that were just seemed out of place, right, for both of them. So Shin. Now, we've seen other Jedi, right? For example, the battle with Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. When they're ready for combat, the first thing a Jedi does is remove their robe. Okay? Mm-hmm. Right? Remember, right? We saw that
Mace
at Naboo.
Windu did that. You know, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan did that. I think Anakin did that. Well, no, he kept the hood on because it was menacing.
Okay. It's very rare for a Jedi to be fighting with a lightsaber with a hood on, right?
Exactly, because the hood is obstructive.
It is, exactly.
Like, if you're walking about town and you want to keep a low cover,
Yeah.
then you keep the hood and the cloak on.
Correct.
But if you're about to fight somebody
You want to duel.
and you're holding
Yeah.
1,000-degree metal blade in your hand
Mm-hmm.
that's so hot it can cut through metal,
You need your
I
hands
don't
free.
think you'd want to have a flammable cloak
Right.
flapping around while you fight somebody else who has the same 1,000-degree metal sword as you.
It just looked ridiculous. Here's Shin with the hood on. And she's swinging around,
and she's wild with it.
Should have cut her hood
this
with the lightsaber.
1,000-degree light sword,
light up the hood with the lightsaber.
Plausibly, this 1,000-degree light sword did not slice up and burn her cloak. It's something we learned in The Flash. You know, like if
Jedi 101, don't wear your hood when you're battling. It's like, I don't know.
If you generate enough heat, you will burn everything.
Yeah, and then and as far as Sabine's skills. If you notice, if you go back and look at it, or maybe you remember, Keith, whenever Sabine attacks, she raises the lightsaber above her head as if she's going to use it in a chopping motion.
Yeah, like a sledgehammer.
Axe. Right. That's not how you use a lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what you're doing is you're just exposing, you got the lightsaber up here, you're that's exposing your entire body.
See, if you raise the lightsaber up like this,
right,
your arms are distracted and you're leaving your entire chest region
exposed,
out to be... So, like... If you're gonna be fighting someone and you want to raise the saber over your head, here's what's best to do: block them a few times and kick them back, like kick him in the knee or the shin, pun intended.
Mm-hmm, there you go.
So that way you'll keep them off their guard and you'll send them back a bit to put some distance between you, so that when you raise the saber over your head and you strike down, you'll be fast enough that they won't be able to take a jab at you.
Yeah.
Like when you're using a lightsaber, you go like this.
Yeah.
You always guard your midsection and your arms, your torso, because that's where all the organs are. That's where all your valuable parts are.
Right.
And without all the valuable parts, bye.
Yeah. So so she didn't listen, or she missed some training classes with Ahsoka.
Multiple. That's probably why the internship
that is not
ended.
how Ahsoka fights. So I don't know what happened. So she needs more training.
You know what else?
Yeah.
She's not even following any of Ahsoka's forms. Like her forms look more like, dare I say, like Ezra's in a way.
Well, no, Ezra. No, I thought Ezra actually had a better form. Her form. No, Sabine's form seriously looks like Finn, but that's understandable.
See, that's exactly what I was thinking, because Finn was new to holding
no
the
skills,
lightsaber.
No training
he
at
had
all
no
whatsoever.
Clue
He's
how
picking up
to
the
use
lightsaber
it.
for the first.
But he was still good. Like he still held his own against Kylo Ren, but the exact same thing happened to him.
Right.
Yeah. And then he survived. We keep doing this where we establish that if you're not a main character and you don't have plot armor, you will pass away from being stabbed with a lightsaber. But if you have the plot armor that comes with being a main character,
the plot armor, So if you're an important character, you're not gonna die. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you just gotta channel your One Piece energy.
I see.
And then you survive. Takes you like 10 minutes to get up and move.
Yeah, I'm starting to get annoyed by this lightsaber thing. Like I don't understand how people are surviving with it.
How literally everybody who is a main character survives these things.
Yeah, well, Qui-Gon was a main character. But
exactly. Like, they established this in 1999 when they got rid of Qui-Gon. Yeah. And Qui-Gon was quite strong in the Force. He was actually one of the first modern-day Force ghosts.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't understand how somebody as powerful as him would be so easily taken down with somebody who's not powerful yet, like Finn and Sabine, or somebody who's more intermediate with the Force, like Reva. Somebody like as highly trained as the Grand Inquisitor seems to be makes a bit more sense.
Oh, that was another one. But that's when it all started.
That fake out was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was,
We already knew that the Grand Inquisitor couldn't croak in the first episode of Obi-Wan because we had to have rebels, and then everybody on Reddit had an existential crisis about what was going to happen to the canon.
Yeah.
They turned into Miguel O'Hara. They're like, the canon, it's breaking. This was not a canon event.
Yeah, I just want Star Wars to stop it. It's just okay. If the blade is going through you,
Dad, be careful.
okay,
Be careful what you say to
no.
our anthropomorphic mouse overlords.
No, it's unfair to see, how if you get the blade, through you, you die. If you get the blade through you, you live. It's like it's gotta be.
It's like the Green Goblin. You got the bus full of kids, and you have Mary Jane, and it's like you get to choose who lives or dies.
You shouldn't have to pick and choose. All right, so
and I'm like, I'm gonna live for this one and pass away for this.
What was the term you called it? The lightsaber, like it's
nerfed.
Nerfed. Yeah, we don't want the lightsaber to become a nerf.
Yeah, and if you don't know what nerfed means, basically, nerfed is like, imagine if you had a blaster, right? And that blaster could blast through metal. Yeah. But all of a sudden, somebody remade that blaster and it couldn't blast through metal. It could only blast through like weaker materials. That's nerfing it. Kind of like how they nerfed Adam Warlock in Guardians 3, because in because in the comics, Adam Warlock was literally the herald of infinity and had a soul stone in his forehead.
Yeah. All right.
Which was something they gave to Vision.
Okay. So what we want to do is get to Q&A. All right. It's just thank you for your patience. I know that was a little bit of a having a fun time.
Sprint.
Yeah, talking about the Force and not having the Force. All right. So Michelle, thank you, Michelle. Michelle Minozzi. Could be too much Sabine's more forceful Mandalorian training interfering with Jedi nuance. Could be. The Mandalorian are warriors.
Yes, Sabine has honestly been trained in so many different arts
Absolutely.
In different ways.
Yes, she has the skills.
She's been trained as a Mandalorian. She's been trained as an Imperial. She's been trained as a Rebel. She's been trained with the Darksaber. She's been trained as a Jedi. In every way, she's still learning.
Yeah.
And so is Ahsoka. They're honestly learning from each other. But the thing is, like, Sabine doesn't seem to hold forms well, because, if you're ever in any kind of fight where there's a blade involved, you do not raise your arms like this.
No.
Once again.
Don't do that.
Because, first of all, you're not going to be any more effective. They're likely going to block your blow.
Yeah. Right.
Or, if they're more keen with the eye, they'll go for you.
Okay.
So.
Got it. All right. Any more Q&A? What do we have? We have the Fanatics blog. Plot armor is entering my lexicon. That was a good one, Keith. Plot armor. Yeah, it depends on where you are on the food chain, I guess. So Alex says Shin is an emo Jedi, as a friend of mine said to me today, hence the fight while wearing the hood. It just seemed very odd.
Did Baylan have a hood? Like, did he keep the hood on consistently throughout the show?
Well, yes, he has, but he has not really been in combat. I mean, he was taking out some of these New Republic. We'll get to the New Republic.
Well, he didn't have it in episode 2, did he? Well, he didn't wear it.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he bowed anybody in episode 2. I don't recall.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hood was down, but he still wore the robe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and then,
I don't.
Thank you. Can't stay long, but I thought it was a solid start. I can't wait for more. Hope you're all around. Thank you so much for being with us, R. Thank you so much. All right. Wonderful. Okay. Excellent. All right.
Let's move to Alex real quick. I wish Sabine had her Beskar armor on during the battle, but they had to end it on a cliffhanger, so that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't end it on a cliffhanger, I get why she didn't have the armor, because the armor was in a drawer on the other side of the room, and the droids were already making off with her stuff, so she really was in a time crunch. She was
unprepared. Yeah.
She had to grab the saber, and she had to get through.
Yeah.
Because by then, Shin and the droid could have already been gone.
Sure, exactly. All right, so
it was only logical that she went for the weapon and not for the armor.
All right, so let's move on and talk about the New Republic. Oh, good Lord. All right.
Oh, good Lord.
I don't know what to say much about the New Republic, but they're not going to last long, as we know. That right after. So if you don't know what the New Republic is, after the fall of the Empire, we had this new government come in and clean up the mess. So they, arrested all of the Imperials who were involved with the Emperor and
they got rid of all of them.
had these some of these people actually go through rehabilitation to give them a second chance where they can actually work for their new republic. But they as in the government, the new republic government, don't seem organized.
Yeah, like
They
one of
don't
the
know
things I noticed,
what they are doing.
something I noticed about the New Republic
Yeah.
is that when they were introduced, their main base on Hosnian Prime was decimated in the same movie. So my thinking is, it seems like the New Republic has been underprepared from the start.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's
go ahead.
something that's good. This show looks like it might be a Rebels reunion, and Zeb works for the New Republic. So
Good point.
if we reassemble the Rebels, that should be enough to draw Zeb back onto the team. Because Ezra and Zeb were like buddies. They have a really special connection.
I like that.
So
Okay.
that means that if Zeb is back on the team, he'll be safe from whatever happens on Hosnian Prime when they get decimated. And that means that Zeb survives, and that also means that maybe he was aboard the Ghost when we saw it in that accursed last movie.
Yes. The problem I have
better than the Eighth.
Well, some of the few problems
doesn't exist in my head.
Let's run down the problems that the New Republic have. So they have leaders that have no idea how to run the government. They have people who are loyal to the Empire working among them, living among them, and they have no idea that they're there. You know what I mean? And that's a problem.
Here's something funny.
Yeah.
This is 4 years after the Battle of Endor and the dissolvement of the Empire.
Correct.
So the fact that these remnants have been hiding out there for 4 years. Yeah, it's not looking good.
No. They're arrogant. They're arrogant. At the beginning of episode 1, where that captain came out and, called the Imperials trash, and that he was going to call their bluff.
See, here's
he was going to have them land their ship inside their cruiser.
Like,
why?
Here's something. Like, it's basic intruder drills. I was taught this before I even knew how to cross the street by myself. If you meet somebody who's suspicious, please don't invite them into your house for tea and coffee.
No.
It's the same thing in space. If you're on a spaceship and an unidentified spaceship comes along and you already know that they're probably not Jedi, why would you dock them and bring out an entire fleet of your men like they could actually take a chance? And more importantly, the captain was arrogant enough to be like, I'm calling your bluff. I think you're faking it.
Yeah.
You were just Imperial trash that got too bold too quickly.
Ridiculous.
So he got that saber he deserves. Baylan's like, do you like this? Here, have it. But he got what he deserved, But here's, you don't do that. More importantly, if you meet an intruder and they say they're somebody you know they're not, please do not taunt them and tell them that they are trash and that they're arrogant, because you are arrogant and they are very dangerous people.
Yeah, this military, they have no idea how to run a military. You're exactly right. If this was
I'm 11. I know better military strategies than the New Republic.
All right, so this was the Empire. If there was a foreign ship, they had no idea where the ship is coming from or whether it was friendly or enemy. Yeah. The first thing they're going to ask for is what? A clearance code. Do you have a clearance code? You don't ask them, you don't invite them into your cruiser and then ask for a clearance code. Right?
Well, they didn't.
Well, okay. Well, they did ask for a clearance code and they found out it was a Jedi clearance code. It was an old code.
Yeah.
All right. But this guy obviously knew that there were perhaps no Jedi left over. So if these two are claiming to be Jedi, he knew that they were not telling the truth.
Here's the thing.
You shouldn't play your cards. You shouldn't show that to them and say, okay, you're not Jedi, so we're going to go and arrest you.
See, I bet you there's going to be a how it should have ended skit.
Yeah.
Where basically it's like, Captain, there's an unidentified cruiser and it's a Jedi. And the captain, instead of being arrogant and caught up in his hubris, will be like, well, shoot it down. There's no Jedi left. Pew, pew. Show's over.
Yeah. And what you do is you don't have them board your ship.
Kishy,
you board their ship.
If you're watching this, please write that as a skit, please.
All right. And then there's Yes, and
Well,
then
yeah, that ship was too big to board that tiny little cruiser. But
all right.
like, you really do not do that.
The New Republic is full of hubris and too passive. It's absolutely right. All right. And then here is, okay, Fanatics Blast says, my Mothma hasn't established the rules of letting fake Jedi.
Yeah.
Hasn't established the rules of letting fake Jedi on your ship. Yeah, I mean, she's going to have to come up with some kind of amendments, like Amendment 1. Don't invite. Don't invite fake Jedi on your ship.
All right. So,
the Bill of Rights, the Bill of New Republic Rights.
So you got to read the Declaration of Independence, but for the New Republic.
Oh, and here's a kicker. Let's talk about this Corellia.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got it.
The New Republic is running the shipyard off of Corellia, and I don't know what they're doing, if they're building a fleet or if they're saving these things. And by the way, we meet this dude who's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but fine, I'll lead you there. He turns out to be an Imperial sympathizer, so he gets arrested at the end of the episode.
Right. Because they're actually building super Star Destroyers for the New Republic. Why would the New Republic need super Star Destroyers?
Exactly.
Right?
Like, here's the thing. Super Star Destroyers were reserved for the most talented and the most elite of Imperial members.
Absolutely.
Darth Vader
had his own
Moff Tarkin,
exactly.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Oh yeah,
Moff Gideon. I think he had one.
Yeah, they had their own superstar.
When you had the big guns, that's what they have. But Palpatine didn't need one because he just sat on his throne, and that throne was comfy enough.
Yeah, right. And then they're building 9 of them, from what I understand. So
which does not make sense. Where are you going to put 9 super Star Destroyers? You couldn't hide a regular Star Destroyer on a shipyard. What are you going to do with one that's twice its size?
So
the Lego model is bigger than my table.
Right.
Okay, that's an exaggeration, but it's pretty big.
So what this tells me, apparently, whoever was able to get in and build these ships, or this hyperdrive, create these hyperdrives for these super Star Destroyers, had high security clearance, right? Which tells me that there are people high up in their government who are Imperial sympathizers, just like you said.
The New Republic is not doing a very good job. Once again, it's
the
4
enemy
years
within.
later.
Yeah,
they really need to step it up.
Yeah, and they're not.
Get their security on point. Get the ball rolling. Make sure that everybody is who they say they are. So that led to a great chase. Or this was actually the best scene of the 2 episodes. Hera's going after this ship that's hauling this hyperdrive. You got Ahsoka battling a new Inquisitor. Yes, by the way,
where does this Inquisitor
this
come
is
from?
literally 30 years after the Inquisitors were created. You'd think they would have been all liquidated, gotten rid of. Most of them were defeated.
Shut down, fired.
Some of them were
let go.
Some of them actually converted to the light side, like Reva, or at least became neutral.
Good point.
Like a gray Jedi in a sort.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. We never really got to see that with any other Inquisitors other than Reva. So now there's 2 new Inquisitors, and both of them were fought by Ahsoka. One in Tales of the Jedi, which she swiftly dispatches, and the second was in the Ahsoka show itself. And we know it's an Inquisitor because they have the classic double-bladed spinning lightsaber. Yeah.
Those never go out of style for me. I mean, when he used it and he
whenever you see one of those, you'll be like,
Ahsoka, and then recalled it, back to him. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, happy news
Ahsoka's
is
fighting him.
Yeah.
But she's actually winning, sort of, until the Inquisitor calls him back up and escapes, and then boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. All right. And so good news came out of that the chopper was able to get a tracker onto the ship to see where it's going. So good.
Luckily.
So Alex says, Mon Mothma eventually disbanded the New Republic's military, right? I don't know. I wonder if such sentiments contributed to the current situation. I don't even know if the New Republic has a military at this point. I was actually just kidding. I think they dismantled their military because I guess. So right now, the government is actually split, right? So we talked about this before. The pacifists,
they probably would have dismantled.
The centrists, they said there's 2 parts of the government.
They probably would have dismantled their government a bit later on. Because if you think about it, we're kind of in the thick of it right about now. This is just now when we're finally starting to weed out the last parts of the Empire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't come until a good 5-10 years.
Yeah, I don't know if the New Republic has a military at this point. It doesn't.
I
look
don't
like
know if they have
anything.
a plan.
I
They don't
I
even
think
have
that
part of a plan.
I think they think after the fall of the Empire there was no need for a military, but no, that was the wrong
That's
idea.
not how it works.
He definitely moves like he's younger than his 30s. Michelle, thank you.
Like I believe
Yeah.
Red Skull said this: if you cut off one,
Mateo, thank you.
if you cut off one head, more will grow to take its place.
There you go. That's very good.
That's just how it works.
All right. So I know we're running a little late. But let's talk about
Let's just wrap this up.
the Night Sisters of Dathomir.
Oh,
Ooh,
right.
wow.
Hey.
Okay. So we'll probably have to do a separate.
I think we might
character
actually
study on this,
review
but
the
we'll
Night
touch it.
Sisters.
You said we reviewed them already?
I said we might actually.
Oh yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we'll
I'm
have
agreeing
to.
with you.
Well, yeah, we'll have to do that. So talk about the Night Sisters.
All right, so the Night Sisters were part of the Clone Wars. Some of the more notable Night Sisters might have been like Mother Talzin, and actually Ventress. She had ties to the Night Sisters.
True.
She was Dathomirian herself. So.
Yes, she was.
And Savage, actually.
Right.
Savage and Maul had ties to the Night Sisters because Savage got his powers from Mother Talzin's spells.
Right. But they are the sons of Mother Talzin, right? Are they not?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, all right. Well,
I don't believe that they're related. I mean, Mother Talzin looks like a gaunt old ghost that's more than 100 years old, but Darth Maul looks like he's in the prime of his life during the Clone Wars.
All right, well, we'll go back
except for the no legs part.
Okay. Well, we'll go back. I actually thought that they were all related, that Mother Talzin is the mother
Well,
of
they're
Maul.
different species, actually. Like, one's Dathomirian, and one's Dathomirian Zabrak.
Okay. We'll do a character study on the Night
And then there's Zabraks.
They're a little complicated. All right.
Like, there's Dathomirian, Zabrak, and then Zabrak.
Okay. And the reason why we're bringing up the Night Sisters is because Morgan Elsbeth
is apparently a survivor.
Yeah, her ancestors are Night Sisters, right? That's where she hid the map to Thrawn.
That's why she hid it there,
ancient temple,
because she'd be the one to find it.
Yeah, but it was actually found first by Ahsoka.
And sadly, they have the map, and they activate it, and they find out exactly where Thrawn is located.
Yes, they do. Right. And we'll find out more about that in episode 3, we hope. Okay. All right. And then just to wrap up. So let's talk
by the way, we forgot about Sabine. There's just this little plot line with Sabine who hangs like, I have Ezra's lightsaber, but it is now your lightsaber. You have possessed it, taken care of it, and you've made your own modifications, so it's yours now. Take it with pride.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Keith. All right. So
it's like the broke down James Bond theme, but worse.
So just to wrap up, I really enjoyed these 2 episodes. You can let me know what you think. I think I am very happy with having this series. The standout for me is Natasha Liu Bordizzo playing Sabine. I think she's wonderful.
Good.
Yeah,
that is very good acting.
I think,
she's actually convincing us.
Yeah, she really is bringing that character to life, and I think she's really enjoyed playing that character. All right, and talk about we want to talk about Ray Stevenson, the late Ray Stevenson. He's great as Baylan Skoll. Ivana Sakno plays Shin. Clancy Brown. Let's talk about other clones and Rebel characters. So we talked about Huang, the droid professor. Writer Azadi. All right. We saw him at the beginning of episode 1.
And he's giving a speech. By the way, he was mentioned in the Adventures of Wells Facebooks and the Rebels show.
How about that? Okay, so he is an ally, close ally. If you watch Rebels, Writer Azadi worked with the Rebels to defeat Governor Price. They actually set her up, as a matter of fact. So now he...
And also...
he is now
Minister
General of
Tua and Grand Inquisitor. They fought against them. I've just realized something. In the first season of Rebels, the color palettes were light because we were on the Thal. It was a lot of grass and wheat fields and sunshine. But in every season, they got increasingly darker. And then season 4 was just the flames of heck, blackest night screens. All the shots were just in space, or when they were on the ground, they were always filled with smoke, or in the middle of the night, or dusk, or like yeah, it was never fun anymore.
Yeah, the
By the
tone
time the fourth
changed.
season rolled
I
around,
agree. Yeah.
personally, I think the third season was very good. I think it was even, dare I say, the second best season. The first one was obviously the best.
Okay.
It was a classic. It introduced us to the characters. It did them right. And most importantly, it had a tone that I actually enjoyed. And then the second season, that was good, but it wasn't as good as season 3. And then 4.
Okay.
4 wasn't bad. I just don't like it as much as I like the other ones because it was just black.
Okay.
It's like somebody took their camera, put their hand over it, and they said, "Yep, it's done."
Ryder Azadi is voiced by Clancy Brown, who actually who plays a character in live action, the same actor. Clancy Brown, by the way, if you don't know who Clancy Brown is, he is actually an actor in what I consider one of the best films ever made, called The Shawshank Redemption. And he plays the prison captain, Captain Hadley.
You know what's funny?
Yes.
In the same episode, we see Captain Hale. It's the same letters, but they swapped the Y with the D and then removed the D.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any connection there, but yeah, just wanted to say that. Clancy Brown, wonderful actor. And then Jai Kell. Who is Jai Kell? All right, okay, I'll tell you. So, by the way, I want to say this about Ryder Azadi. I didn't know this, but he was also in prison at the same time as Ezra's parents, Ephraim and Mira Bridger.
Yeah, Mira and Ephraim Bridger, they were also in prison with
yeah.
with Ryder. They staged the jailbreak in which Ryder was freed.
And unfortunately, they didn't escape because they lost their lives during the prison break, but he did. He got out. Yeah. All right, so Jai Kell or is it Jai Kell? Jai Kell. All right. So Jai Kell, former cadet of the Lothal Imperial Academy, who is now a Lothal senator. So he was the young man when they couldn't find Sabine.
Young man.
Azadi said, "Well, go out there and and say something."
So John Carlos said those exact words to me, "Young man."
Yes.
And then he gave me his hand.
Let's get through this.
Shake.
All right, former cadet of the Lothal Imperial Academy, who is now Lothal senator. Ezra and Jai met when Ezra infiltrated the cadet academy, right?
Dev Morgan.
His name was Dev Morgan. That was his nickname. Kell is in danger after the Grand Inquisitor takes an interest in him. I guess because the Grand Inquisitor thought he might have been force sensitive. Is that what it was?
I think he is, actually.
Jai Kell is force. Interesting. All right. So Ezra helps him escape the academy. So 2 characters from Rebels are now in live action. All right. So those 2. I think that is it. We're going to see if there's any final Q&A. Hang in there, Keith. All right. What do we got? So we have Alex said Clancy Brown is great. He was awesome in Daredevil and Rebels.
He was in Daredevil?
I guess so. Yeah, I didn't get a chance.
Who did he play?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch. That's the Netflix Daredevil. And I like seeing him in live action in Ahsoka too. Yeah. And I need to see Shawshank Redemption. Like I said, Alex, it is one of my favorite films of all time. So I don't want to hype it up and you say, hey, this is terrible. You gave me a wrong.
I don't know who would say
what
that.
What kind of recommendation is this? But to me, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's a classic up there with The Godfather.
Near perfect. Fanatic's Blot. I don't know who decided on the shot-for-shot Rebels ending, Ahsoka Part 2 ending, but that was brilliant. Very good point. It was wonderful to see. Yeah, we didn't talk about Lothal, but the look of Lothal, I mean, it looks just like it did.
Sabine looks like she's living in Ezra's tower, actually.
Yeah, the same tower. It looks just like the same tower. I
literally did not realize this until the second watch.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that road that, Ezra has taken,
now Sabine has taken?
Yeah. There are no other vehicles on that road. Like, what kind of road is this?
It's deserted, actually. We saw it in both the first and last
seasons. Is it deserted?
Seasons.
Because, I mean, it's a perfect...
that's where we saw the Lothwolves.
Yeah, it's a perfect road to just rip it and run, So that's what Sabine did.
Rip it.
On her speeder bike. I mean, she has to worry about traffic at all. All right, Fanatics. Night Sisters are due a real story in Star Wars, finally. I agree. Yeah, I think there's a lot that we can learn or we could find out and understand about the Night Sisters. They're into, we didn't talk about it in deep, but, they're into witchcraft and dark magic, just very cool, very interesting things. It's Star Warsy. So yes, you're right. There should be more about the Night Sisters. So we'll see. Mateo, my dad says hello. Thank you, Mateo. Please tell your dad hello as well. Remember your dad. He's awesome. He is awesome. All right. And then finishing up. All right. So we have one announcement, or actually two announcements. So our Chicago podcast episode is available if you're interested in checking that out. Please do so. Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view. I am looking forward so much all year, looking forward to this book, the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. This is the certain point of view version of the film that drops next Tuesday. I'll read all 40 stories and figure out how we're going to cover them all, but we'll find out. We'll figure it out. Okay. So that's it. That's all I have for announcements, Keith. As we pull up any last minute Q&A that we have, where can people find
Subscribe!
Subscribe. Yes, that's the word of the day. Subscribe.
Literally, gather all your family members in a room, tell them to grab their phones and subscribe.
That's right. Tell them Keith sent you. All right. Where else can they find us?
Tell them that I sent you. And if my mission is not fulfilled,
okay. Keith, where can people find us?
I will bake cakes.
Well,
multiple cakes.
Yeah, okay. You can find us on X, Facebook, and
not
Instagram.
X. Twitter.
No, we are still on
Twitter,
X,
Facebook, and
you want to call it.
Instagram.
We're still there. We're on all of your streaming platforms, so you can find us anywhere you like.
Website, fathersandgalaxy.com. Merch store, fathersandgalaxy.myspreadshop.com.
Yes.
Email us.
Email.
Tell us when you subscribe. And if you didn't subscribe, I will mail a chocolate cake to your house.
Okay. All right.
And a package of butter cookies.
Oh, yeah. Got to have those butter cookies, Alex. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Put butter cookies in Star Wars.
Yes,
I'm going to say that next time it's my birthday because I know Star Wars will be there.
Well, we don't want to make any promises, okay? Well, don't put any pressure on yourself. All right. So
I'm not putting pressure on myself.
Your birthday is 3 months away, so we got time. All right.
4.
And I agree with you. I think it was Holly who said that Shawshank is the best, one of the best movies. I agree. It is. Yeah. Okay. All right. If there is nothing else, I think we are ready to wrap it up.
All right. Okay. So until next time.
Okay.
And we'll see you again.
All right. That's my line, but that's cool.
Peace.
That's cool too. You take care, and we will see you again.